Welcome to another episode of Days to Happy, and I have my buddy Heather Nemelka with us today. Heather, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. It's a great Wednesday here in Utah.
That is fantastic. And the way that Heather and I met at a conference, actually, it was a business meeting. And when I heard the things that she is doing with her organization, I thought we have to have her on the show. Heather is the founder and president of Elavare. And what that is dedicated to is helping women build confidence and return to the workforce. She is also involved in a number of other things. She's a vice chair of the Silicon Slopes chapter, Slopes AI chapter, also a member of the board of directors for Bear River Mutual. It goes on and on. I'm not going to belabor the point. It just goes to show what a person can do when they put their mind to it. Heather, thanks for trailblazing the way in so many different things and showing what's possible.
Thank you. You said so many nice things. I appreciate it.
Much deserved. And I've got to go into your own journey because it hasn't been easy, right?
No, it's been really hard.
And that's what makes you awesome. Would you mind sharing how it all started?
Sure. I would say my story really began like 11 years ago. My husband had filed for divorce. We had been married almost 25 years, and I had to return to the workforce. And it was really hard and challenging. And I applied to so many jobs and never heard back from any of them. And I had to provide for my family. My husband at the time, now ex-husband, was not working and there was no income. There was no way to provide except for me going back into the workforce. And it was really hard. And I turned to my brother and I said, I don't know what to do. I've applied to all these jobs and nobody wants to hear from me or talk to me. What do I do? He suggested I do an informational interview with a local company. And that gave me my first chance and step back into the workforce. But since then, it's still been hard. I keep thinking, oh, well, once I hit this milestone or once this happens, everything will get much easier. And guess what? It just continues. The journey continues. And that's how we grow. So I should be grateful for it.
Getting rejected always stinks, whether it be dating, whether it be in the workforce. I remember when I lost my job, it was so not intimidating, it was irritating because literally 500 interviews. It's like,
Oh,
what's going on?
yeah. And you keep thinking, oh, this job's perfect. Like I'm a shoe-in for this. And you won't even get a response. And it's really easy to get discouraged because you go into it thinking, oh, you go into it feeling confident. Like, I got this. I've got skills. I've got a degree. I've got experience. And it may be just life experience, but I can do this. And then pretty soon you realize it's hard. It's very
It
hard.
is hard. And then on top of that, it compounds with all the worries that you have with the family. It compounds even self-worth. And
Oh, huge.
so when that hit you, how did you deal with that? Because that's a hard hit to anyone's mental wellness, we'll call it, right? How
Right.
how was it? I mean, you were in a pretty tight situation right there. And now watching you, you would never known you went through that. But everyone
Mhm.
knows you have battles because you share them and are adamant. But how?
Yeah, I had a real loss of confidence and personal self-worth when I got divorced because in our faith, marriage is eternal and families are forever. And here I was, my family was not going to be forever in the way that I thought it was going to be. And so I already felt disappointed and like I was just had really, I don't know, let people down, let my family down, that I couldn't keep things together. But I went into the job search thinking, that's okay. I'm strong. I'm resilient. I can do hard things. I've done hard things in the past. I can get through this. But then when I kept getting rejections and just silence, actually, I should say, in the job search, that's when it really hit me. And I thought, well, of course, nobody wants to even look at me. I'm not that smart. I don't have any great experience. I probably wouldn't make a great employee either. And so you start going down this spiral of thinking, I'm not worth hiring. And that's when it really hit me that maybe I'm not going to be able to get a job. Maybe no one's going to want to hire me.
That is such an awful spiral. I've been there, done that, and A lot of friends been there, done that. I'm interested. How did you stop that stinking spiral? Because as you were explaining it, I could actually feel myself going down that spiral myself.
Well, something life-changing happened to me. And around the time I did get this job, kept having this feeling that I was supposed to do something more with myself. And at the time, single mom now of 5 kids. I had a full-time job. I was involved in my community. I had two very important responsibilities in my church. And I kept having this thought. Oh, and I also had an Amazon and eBay business on the side. And this thought wouldn't go away in my mind that there was something more I was supposed to do. And I kept praying, I kept thinking, I kept talking to people, and nothing came to my mind. And my son, he was on a church mission and he had been told this quote by his mission president. And it had said, obedience brings blessings, something like obedience brings blessings, strict obedience brings miracles. And I thought, I am not getting any answers. I need a miracle. In my mind, strict obedience meant several different things. And so I started to pattern my life after things that I felt were more obedient to God, more obedient to my values, more obedient to the life I wanted to live. And for about a month and a half, I was doing these actions and nothing was changing. I think I was changing through the process, but nothing really like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. And I was at church one day, and my former bishop came up to me and he said, Heather, have your ears been burning? And I said, no, should they have been? And he said, yeah. He said, I've been talking to Dan Snow, and Dan is a director of the MBA program at BYU, but he was one of my friends freshman year in college. And he said, Dan Snow and I have been talking, and we think you should go back to school and get your MBA. I laughed out loud because I was like, is he mad? There's no way I could do that. And I said to him, I'm a single mom of 5 kids. I have to work full time. I have this eBay business. I have all these things. There's no way I could go back to school and get my MBA. And he's like, well, I didn't realize you are working full time. Well, BYU has an executive MBA program that you can go to school on the weekends. Maybe you should consider it. And again, I laughed and I said, thank you. He says, I'm planting the seed. And all that day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I thought that was ridiculous because I had put my husband through business school at Wharton. Like I knew how hard going back to school to get an MBA would be. And I didn't think I was smart. I didn't think that I couldn't memorize things. There was no way, but it wouldn't go away. And that night I prayed about it. And when I knelt down and I had these hot, stinging tears hit my cheeks, and I knew. Oh, I get emotional when I talk about it. I knew that's what I was supposed to do with my life. And that changed the trajectory of my entire life. I ended up applying to business school and everything else just so after that, I thought if somebody thought that I could go back to school and get my MBA, that I could be smart enough
Yeah.
that I could actually be accepted, then maybe there's more to me than I thought. And so I always tell people now, because self-confidence and self-worth is something that doesn't come easy. I don't know why, but it just doesn't. And I always tell people, borrow my confidence until you have confidence in yourself.
Mhm.
Because that's what I had to do with these two men that thought I could go back to school and get my MBA. I had to believe in what they were thinking of me, what they
Right.
saw in me before I believed in myself. So that was a long story, but that's
I think that's a fantastic journey that led you to action, which action is so vital and preventing that spiral. That spiral, again, is very real. And now that you're where you are with Elavare, how have you helped people that might not be religious or and such, right?
yeah.
How do you help them see that, especially now with women returning to the workforce? I know they've gone through similar cycles as you did. There's no doubt about that. What's your secret sauce?
Something that really helped me a lot, and I learned this in my MBA program, but everyone can do this, and I suggest this to the women I help, is find your friends and family, people that know you really well, ask them to send you an email or a text with 3 qualities or characteristics that they think of when they think of you. So, what are 3 characteristics that describe you So I asked these friends and family to describe me with three adjectives. And I thought to myself, oh, that'll be really interesting because I had to do this as part of a school assignment. So I tell women to do this, and it is amazing what the response is because you get all these responses from people, and pretty soon you start to see a pattern. And I was amazed when I did it that three qualities came up often with these individuals. And there were variations of these words, but they were determination, compassion, and intelligence. And I thought, okay, first of all, I am determined. I knew that was true. Compassion, I think of myself as being kind, but I don't think I'm overly compassionate. But intelligence, never would I put that on my list of qualities, ever. Like my brothers are all really smart. And I'm like, and I also have a sister that's also really smart, I should say. But I'm not smart. And so that was mind blowing. So I tell women, go to people who know you the best and ask them what, and you can tell them that it's an assignment for a project. Like for me, it was easy for me to do it because I was in this MBA program, so I could say I'm doing this for a class. But say you're doing this as part of an exercise with it could just be your own self project, but ask them and you will be amazed. And that I think also can help you get out of that spiral is to ask people who know you really well to tell you what they think about you. And they're going to be honest and you're going to be surprised.
Yeah, it's a secret sauce. I done something similar and I was surprised as well. I go, what? What is going on? And it's a simple exercise. It's very daunting as well. Just this sounds so, it sounds like it's so self-aggrandizing and such, but I need to know.
Yeah. Well, and it also tells you maybe some things that you could work on too, right?
Yeah.
Because you ask them just truthfully, tell me what are three, someone could have said loud. And so maybe I would need to tone things back.
Well, to add to what you just said there, how do you keep this is something I know I've fallen a victim to, and I know a lot of folks that I coach, whether it be in athletics or whether that be an organization doing, and that is how do you prevent yourself from, or anyone, or what do you recommend to not compare yourself to other people?
Yeah. What is that quote? Comparison is the thief of joy. And
Mhm.
I find myself falling into that trap of comparison all the time. And
Yes.
that was one of the reasons why I never did social media when it came out because I at first was on and I kept seeing other people's posts about the awesome life they were living and all the great things going on in their world. And at the time I had just gotten divorced and I was like, my life isn't that great. And no, I don't want to be reminded of it. Thank you very much. So I really had to get out of social media and distance myself for a period of time until I could build enough self-worth and self-confidence. But comparing myself to others, what I try to do is compare myself to what I was a year ago. And I think we're always making progress. And that tells me where I am in my sphere of personal influence. And if I'm improving every year, that's good enough for me. And I really try hard not to compare myself to others, but it's definitely hard.
Yeah, it is tough. It was interesting. There's a friend of mine who's a consultant to mixed martial artists, and he's very good at what he does. He's coached a lot of world champions in jiu-jitsu. And one thing he keeps on professing is 1%, increase by 1% every day.
Yeah.
And I thought, in 100 days, you'd increase 100%. There's no way you could increase by 1% every day, right? And as I started thinking about that, it wasn't really the message. It was 1% of all the minutes in the day is 14 minutes. So it's more like increase 1% every day. And it was amazing. It was such a turning point. And you start to realize anyone could do something for that amount of time. And if it's just to get up and ride a bike for 15 minutes, even at my snail's pace. I mean, I'm pretty pathetic. I average probably a 12-minute jogging mile. I care less, man. It's like I'm out there. Just go for it. But
Me
it
too.
really is that increase. And oftentimes, I don't know if you went through this too, when you're in a dark time, it's easy to negate even that. It's the paralyzation of, I just don't want to. I can't possibly take another step.
And can I add to that?
Yes.
One of my absolute favorite books is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I love it because it's this principle of very small actions can lead to big results. And it talks about if you want to get in the habit of getting fit and you want to get in better health and shape, then your atomic habit, your incremental difference every single day. The first day might be go and buy some new tennis shoes. The
Yep.
next day might be set out your workout clothes. The next day might be go to the gym for 5 minutes. And then when you're at the gym, he talks about like you're at the gym, so 5 minutes seems too small, short, so you go for longer, and then you the next day, and little by little, and it's amazing how that very small effort over time
Yeah.
be so huge. So I love what you talk about because when you're in a really dark place, you don't think that there's any hope. You think that there is nothing that can possibly turn your life around. And if
Mhm.
you give yourself just the chance to think about what's something so tiny, like atomic, right? That can make a difference. When you're looking at it, it seems so small, but over time, it can make a huge difference.
I need to read that book because when you say atomic, I have the opposite thought. I'm thinking like an atomic bomb. Boom! It's
Oh,
gigantic,
interesting.
right? And
Oh,
so atomic from a very minute, but coming together, it creates big things. That's pretty cool. Okay, so gotta ask you this. When all the things were going on, it had to take a toll on the family. How did you deal with that? Help me understand that because I think well, I don't think I know that would help me to understand even the other inner workings from a kid's aspect of it and helping their mental health.
I love that question because family is so important. And my kids at the time, when I was in that really hard, dark place, they were ages 9 to 18, 5 kids. So I had teenagers dealing with their own mental health issues and their challenges. And I think part of it for me was I needed to get myself in a good place so that I could help them. They talk about on the airplane, put your mask on first before you
Yeah.
help somebody else. And so I had to do that. So I spent a lot of time working on myself first before trying to assist them. And I was always present for them, but I needed to get myself in a good place. And then being there to encourage them and sometimes when you're not doing really well, it's hard to set the example for your kids. And for my kids that were struggling, I had to encourage them in just very small and simple ways. So sometimes it was, let's go for a walk. Sometimes it was, come snuggle with me on the couch or doing a craft project together. When went back to school, I read to my kids every night, each of them separately in bed, and they picked out their own book and we would just snuggle up in bed and I would read a page or a chapter depending on how big of a book it was with them, and it gave us time to connect. It gave us a chance for them to tell me if there were any problems, things that were hard for them, and I really valued that time. It was just so so special because I was doing so many things, and also just validating what their feelings are because it's easy to say, oh, just you'll be okay. Just keep working, keep praying, keep doing all the things you've been doing. And, people have it worse or making their hard things seem insignificant, I guess, is what you really want to
Yeah.
avoid. And so just say, I know this is really hard and I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. And just listening a lot. That's what I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. That's amazing. Simply because I have been guilty of going, come on, buck up here. Let's go. Here's what my wife explained it. I take the dog for a walk and I'm usually impatient. I go, listen, we got to get back. Just let's go. And then she shared an article of how that creates duress in the dog when you're hustling them along. And she goes, that's their time.
Oh.
And I remember thinking that. And as I was walking the dog, I was more aware of what she was doing. I thought, huh, that makes sense. And then it translated over to my kids. It's their time. When you're spending it, it's their time. And so you brought up how sometimes we go, we have it much better than other people in the world, and blah, blah. It does nothing to negate what that person is feeling. And when you brought that up, it just made me realize that in speaking with each other, especially when it comes to hard times, we think we're doing somebody a favor by negating what they're going through. It's like, oh, come on, toughen up. We could do this. We got this. Sometimes they don't need a cheerleader. They just need a listener. And it happened with my wife. Just she was in some duress. And I go, come on, man, just we could do this. Let's go. He goes, I don't want your advice. I want your ears. Right?
Yes. I
And and sometimes that's what you need to do is we need to take ourselves out of that and realize let's just this is their time. And does that make any sense?
Well, yes, and I have a friend who used to say to his teenage daughters, "Do you want to be hugged, helped, or heard?" And that was his way of being able to say to them from the very get-go when they would have a conversation, what role do you want me to play? Because I think as parents, we want to be helpers. Like we want to be doers. We're problem solvers, especially as women. I think mothers tend to want to solve the problem. And when we're not doing any solving, if we're jumping right in, telling them what we think that they should do. And I think if we can approach conversations that way, we can be
Yeah.
the best person that our children need for us in those moments.
It's so funny because listening to you to talk, it brings back an old movie that I absolutely love. This is Tombstone back in the 90s. And the one character, golly, I'm losing my mind here, but he goes, my hypocrisy knows no bounds. And I have preached over and over, or actually out of just pure frustration, is man, you're not listening to me. You're not. And I do the same daggum thing, and that's all they need. So hugged, helped, or heard. That's amazing advice because it's like, you're not listening to me. Well, I'm not really listening to you either. Hugged, helped, or heard. What is it that we need? And sometimes I just want to get to the next level because my own comfort level, or I just want to brush past this because I know better, supposedly.
No, we do. We think in our minds, well, we've experienced that. Like,
Right.
surely our life experience tells us how we can help you. Whoa, but it's hard to resist. Like, we really do want to jump in and, okay,
Yeah.
I know how to help you. And it's not,
I'm glad that I'm not the only one, and with everything that we profess in wanting to help others, especially from a mental wellness perspective. Sometimes that's the most important thing,
oh,
and I just now I feel somewhat inept.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's you really, like for me, I haven't had any mental health or mental wellness training. I've just learned from past experiences. I used to work for a company. They're now called Crucial Learning, but they have a book called Crucial Conversations.
Oh
And my
yeah,
teenage daughter and I were just, and I read this book and I learned how to communicate in a much better way. And I had thought I was a good communicator. I thought I was really good at these things, but obviously I wasn't because our communication had really broken down. And she's somebody that I've learned how to be a better person from my
yeah.
children, and she's somebody who's taught me how to be a better person for
I
sure.
love that. There's one thing I read one of your articles on LinkedIn, and it was about your brother and his cancer journey. And so there's a saying I'm going to completely mess up. It was a dictator, and they said that one of the things that is the biggest deterrent of trying to get someone or a group under their reign or whatever is hope, and it's to kill the hope. And that was the whole thing. If you can kill the hope, you can literally conquer anything. And it
Um,
was interesting. And I know I have not done it justice, but when I read what you were writing about your brother with his cancer diagnosis, I mean, it was dire. How was it that you helped him have hope and this translates to the not only the entire family, but even the folks that you serve. There's that level of hope that you're instilling. Sorry for such a broad question.
When it comes to trying to instill hope in others, what I have always leaned into is the life experience that I've had. So, in this difficult journey that my brother was going through and his cancer, I just looked back at my life and some of the hard things that I had gone through, and it seemed like there was always hope at the end of it. I held on to hope through the journey and the process, and at the end I could look and see, oh wow, that helped carry me through. And so I was able to point to all of the great things that he had to look forward to.
Mm,
And I acknowledge that this is awful, awful news to be given a 9% chance to live and wonder if that was going to come true or not. I just had to tell him, no, you're going to live through this. You're going to be fine. You're going to see your grandkids and you're going to live a wonderful life. This is just one of your chapters, and you have many more chapters of your life to live. And I've had other people have to instill hope in me when I've had rough times. And it was such a beautiful experience for me to be able to share that hope with my brother at a time when he didn't feel like there was any hope left.
yeah.
Oftentimes, we have to step into the darkness before the light will come.
Mm,
And we take that step into the darkness, not knowing what the outcome is going to be, but with the assurance that the light always does come. And I have seen it time and time again. The dark place may be for a while, but the light does eventually come. And so I always lean in on those times that I saw the light, I saw the hope at the end of it.
we could go on and on. And that's what I love about these interviews because there are so many things. And I just wanted to thank you because I do not want to steal all your time, but I appreciate what you've shared, what you stand for, what you're doing, especially women coming back in the workforce, a very daunting experience, but also for being able to share your stories that are not always the most comfortable to do. And I'm looking forward to what you're going to be doing in the future.
I am super grateful that you had me on. I have actually, you don't know this, but I've actually launched a Substack to write about my experience of living life on purpose. And it's really fun and exciting to be able to help women and also help individuals trying to give purpose to their life. And honestly, I wish I had had some more of that when I was going through my hard times. And I just feel really grateful to have the opportunity to help others.